Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing okay. First of all, I wanted to thank you for watching my office/craft room tour. I'm really happy you liked it. It's the first video I've made that has reached 1,000 views, and I know it may not seem very much compared to other things, but I'm really happy about it. And following the views going up was much more exciting than John Wick 2. I've talked about my daily scrapbook before. I mentioned it in my first video where I showed you what I took on holidays to do some scrapbooking. And today I finished it and I really wanted to do a tour because for me it was an exciting project. I didn't know where it was going to lead and I'm really proud of some of the pages. I found this scrapbook at the discount store, I think it was €3 or something, and I had it for 3 years before I decided what to do with it. When I was living in North Wales, I did a one picture a day project and it was really fun. I really liked looking back to it. And for some reason, I can't remember why, in November I decided that I wanted to do another one picture a day project, but this time I wanted to have it in a physical form. I started in November, but I decided to go back to September to start the project because I had enough pictures on my phone to start it. And I didn't really know that it would turn into a scrapbooking project because at that time I hadn't done much scrapbooking. I just wanted to have pictures of the same format, have a few lines about it, and that's it. The first few pages are really simple, just the pictures, a little caption. I started to add a few stickers. I added this little watercolor after a few months of doing this project because I really started liking seeing what was on the pictures in the physical book. I really liked that the pages were simple, that there wasn't too much decoration, and I liked to see the little details of everyday life that you don't really record. When you print pictures for a picture album, you don't print the picture of your lovely watercolor palette or the book you've borrowed from the library. But I think it's really fun to see those details years after and to see what your daily life was composed of. I think I did the first pages until November in one sitting. That's why the pages look similar. For my October trip to Canada, I only added this bit of scrapbook paper to show that it was a special affair. I added a few stickers, but not much. You'll see as I go on that when I took trips after that, I would add much more stuff. And so the 10th of November was the day I started this album. The weekend after that, I went on a little road trip to the seaside, and somehow this one picture a day project transformed into a travel diary / scrapbook. When I started to glue these pictures from my trip, I just started writing a lot. I added stickers, I used things I found in magazines over there, and I really liked the result. Here is a map of the different places I went on this weekend. I used little things I got during the trip, like the business card from a shop I visited, my ticket for the aquarium. And what I liked about this project is that I didn't have really precise guidelines, except for I wanted to have at least one picture a day or a picture every few days. If I wanted to write a lot, I could. But if I wanted to write just a few sentences, I could too. You know, when you buy a piece of clothing or an item that comes with a nice tag, sometimes you just want to save it for no reason and you end up doing nothing with it. And this scrapbook was the perfect place to use those little bits you want to keep from everyday life. For example, this was the tag from some Christmas decorations I bought. I added a piece of scrapbook paper behind it and it's transformed into this lovely Christmas ephemera. I've mentioned her before. I really enjoy following Mercy Tiara's video, and in her pocket scrapbooking videos, she would show that she would print some messages from her phone and add it to her scrapbook project. And I had never thought about that before, but it made sense. If I were to receive a letter or a cute postcard, I would save them. So I started printing some messages. I also printed some cute things from Instagram that I liked. I created a watercolor club at the school where I work at. I printed a smaller version of the little pamphlets I made for the kids. I really like how this page turned out, except from the text not going straight. But I really like that on this picture you have all the date leaves, and I added leaves that seemingly come out of it, and I think it's a really cute layout. Starting this project also made me want to take more pictures. Taking pictures is something I really enjoy. I found, again, the joy of taking pictures. For example, that day I stopped on the side of the road because the autumn colors were awesome and I wanted to capture that. Here I was listening to the Three Musketeers audiobook and I found a quote that I really liked, so I printed it. I took another road trip and my little sentences transformed again in a lot more text. During this trip, I bought my first stamps. These are stamps with names of the day, and I thought they would look really cute in my scrapbook. I wanted the scrapbook to be playful, and I'm really proud of this little thing. I found a really cute bakery and I bought a pastry there, obviously. So I have a picture of me buying the pastry. I kept the top part of the box the pastry came in, and if you flip it, you find what I had in the box, which was a lovely strawberry tartlet. I also have a picture of where I ate that tartlet in a lovely park, and I know it's very simple, but I just love the effect it has. Here is an example of using tags and scrapbook paper to create an ornament. This was a tag from clothing. There was only care written on it, but I added some sentences to show what I was trying to do during these road trips, which was taking care of myself, discovering things like I had never done before. I wanted this project to be pretty simple, so when I made a mistake, here I just cut out a bit of scrapbook paper and cut it here to hide the mistake. I'm not ecstatic about the result, but it's worked for me. I didn't want to make it complicated because when I start to put pressure on myself to create something perfect, I end up being stressed when I want to do it and I abandon the project. So I had to tell myself several times that this was a very simple project, and if I didn't want to do something, if I didn't want to scrapbook a trip, I wouldn't do it. This is one of the double pages I really like in this project. I really like Christmas, so when the season started, I was really happy to use all these stickers. I thought I would add some pictures of movies I watched during the season. I went to a cafe/bakery and there were real cloth napkins and there was a little paper thing around it, so I cut it out. I really like the flow of these pages with the stickers going around and the text. I continued using the stamps to signal what day it was. And here comes a bit of a problem spread. I thought that it would be a really fun project in December to do an advent calendar, a scrapbooking advent calendar. And I had bought this pad of paper, this Christmas pad of paper with the different days and an advent calendar theme. I started using it on this double page, but I ended up hating the result. When I finished the scrapbook, I couldn't bring myself to just keep the pages as they were, so I transformed them, I removed some of the things, but as it happens, I was really good at gluing them down, so when I would remove them, there would be a mess. At some point, I cut out a page of the scrapbook because I really was unhappy about the result, and I kept the paper in case I needed it, and I used it here to glue on the page to hide what was under it because I didn't want to have too many things going on. Here I glued a little drawing a student of mine did. It's at this point that I started to find that using the stamp for every day was a bit much on a page. Here is another example of having the things in picture glued on the page. In December, I started doing my Christmas cards in watercolor, and this was a bit that was left from the project. Here I had bought my embossing machine that I showed you in the craft room tour, and I kept the little scraps from it to create a little scene. I really like reusing stuff that would otherwise go to the bin and create something beautiful from it. Here was another Christmas card project. This was another day where I stopped on the side of the road because the scenery was so beautiful and I knew it would be lovely in my scrapbook. So here is a bit busy, but I really like the result on this page. I went to a Christmas lunch with colleagues and there were some lovely napkins, so I cut a bit of it and glued it here. My parents sent me a letter and I wanted to keep the stamp. I don't really like how I went about it because I think the white is too stark for the page, but I will continue saving stamps just in a different way. Here I was doing a project with my students where they had to write the best homework excuse they could come up with. So I have a picture of doing the posters with those excuses, and I have an excuse that a kid had thrown away because they didn't like how the writing turned out. This is one of the pages I transformed after the fact. I had bought a die cut with my embossing machine to create a road pattern. It was turquoise and I had used a white pen to recreate what the road markings looked like, and I didn't really like how it turned out, so after the fact I used the die cut again, used some grey paper, put it under the picture that I printed again, and I think it's much nicer. I'm still not 100% happy about it, but it's okay. Another example of ephemera you can have in your scrapbook. I received a Christmas present from a colleague and this was the wrapping paper it came in. I thought it was really cute, so I added a bit of it here. In December we went skiing with my family and I wanted to create a really nice spread. I had watched a nice scrapbooking video that I will link down below where she used some little maps from a place she was visiting to create a spread, and I thought I would find a map of the station and have different pictures around it with arrow pointing to where the picture was taken. I really like the idea. I'm not 100% fan of the result, but I think it's a really fun idea and I want to continue doing it. I really wanted to do something super creative and I put a lot of pressure on myself. I took a break from scrapbooking because of that, so when I came back to it, I decided to stop the pressure and do something much more simple. Here the ephemera is really fun because on one evening with my dad we played Scrabble and we had this score sheet, so I kept a bit of it to glue it here. A friend sent me a Christmas card and she had included some stickers in it, so I glued it here. I was really excited to do a spread on going to this swimming pool. There is this tropical swimming pool. It's just amazing. You have all these tropical plants and outside you see the snow. So I used all these scrap bits that I had from my die cut of tropical plants. We went to a restaurant on the way back and I kept a little placemat they have on the table. And I thought it would be a lovely ephemera for the scrapbook, and I was right. I really liked how it turned out. The friend who sent me the postcard with the Christmas stickers, she closed her envelope with this Christmas washi tape, and I really wanted to add it in my scrapbook. At this point, I also started to add pictures of things I was reading, so I really liked this little bits of a graphic novel I was reading, so I took a picture of it and added here. I received a Christmas gift of ephemera for junk journaling. I've showed it in my junk journal video. This was a wax seal used to keep everything together, and I added it in my scrapbook after the fact. That's why this page is a little bit crowded. I also added the business card from the Etsy shop where the ephemera came from. In January of 2023, I restarted this channel, so I took a screenshot of the channel header and the first two videos and added here. Here I used the tag from the new plant I bought and that I showed in my plant video. Honestly, I forgot I had it, that's why it's on the picture. There I took another road trip and I really liked how these pages turned out. I used the pamphlet from the castle I was visiting to show things that I hadn't taken a picture of. For example, in this castle, in the Campion Castle, there was the National Car Museum, but I mean cars from like the 1920s or something. And I really liked the little explanation there was in the pamphlet, so I used it. I found these little stickers that represent little bits of washi tape. I really love the idea of having little bits of washi tapes to kind of anchor pictures on the page. For this road trip, I only have 3 pages about it because I didn't have much to say about it and I didn't want to force myself to print all the pictures I had taken and to write a lot. I really liked how this turned out. I visited Jules Verne's house. It was a lovely, lovely visit. I used a pamphlet to recreate a little design. There was a little map and I drew where I walked. I found these pictures in the pamphlet from the museum I visited. On this page you can see that I started using a sketchbook and drawing, and this was all because of this lovely picture from Instagram that I will link down below. I saw this drawing and I thought, hey, I could start drawing stuff. And I did, and it's been such a lovely experience to draw and to know I could draw. I didn't know I could draw, and I will gladly show you what I've done in this sketchbook later. I took another little trip to Paris in February and I did something I really like on this page. I went to Muji and I glued a tag from it on both sides of the page, and I really like that it sticks out. I wish that I had done the same thing for to start the new year, to show where the new year started, but I will certainly be doing it from now on. I bought some lovely washi tape in Paris and I started doing this like color scheme. I had written a bit of journaling on some pages of a notebook when I was in Paris, but I didn't want just to have 2 pages of journal in a notebook that I wasn't going to use after that, so I cut them out, added to my spread. This is where I cut out a full page because I really didn't like how it turned out. Here I was working on an embroidery project and I thought it would be fun to have a little sample of the thread I was using and of the little tags that come with embroidery floss. I also wrote in with a white pen and I really liked how it turned out to create a bit of variety on the page. As I was nearing the end of this scrapbook, I started wanting to do some specific spreads about a particular subject. For example, here I wanted to have a spread about my videos. I wanted to write little notes about some videos. Here, because I changed the miniature for the video, I have the old version here and the new version over it. I received a lovely package from a friend. This was the wrapping paper her presents came in, and because the pattern was a bit loud for me, I added some tissue paper over it to try to tame it. I was looking through the screenshots I have on my phone and there were a lot of products that I found pretty, and I thought I wanted to have a visual wish list of the things I find pretty. I wanted to experiment with how I would go about designing the title. I'm not 100% happy about it, but it's still okay. Here I did a new page about my video. It's not complete yet. Even if the scrapbook is completed, I will be adding the next videos on it later. I also decided I wanted to have a spread about the different things I'm reading. When I visit art museums, I take a lot of pictures of paintings and painting details, and they stay on my computer forever. I post some of them on Instagram, but I don't really look through them after the fact. So I thought that my scrapbook would be the perfect place to have some of these details printed with a little explanation to why I took the picture, with the title written here. Here I discovered the world of carpet cleaning videos, which was something I didn't know existed on YouTube, and I was strangely fascinated for a bit. Here I wanted to do a little spread about the different walks I took and the lovely flowers I found. And I remember that I had all this lovely scrapbook paper, and I want to remember from now on to use a bit more scrapbook paper to decorate my pages. I received a lovely letter from a friend. Again, I had some washi tape to close the envelope, some stickers in it, and as it happened, I had a plant-themed picture for the day before, so I added the stickers, I added the tape here. I'm really happy about this. I watched the most incredible video of Tom Hiddleston dancing to Rasputin, and I may or may have not watched this video 25 million times. It's just an amazing video. I took a screenshot of it and glued it in my scrapbook because this is the best video I've ever seen in my life. I really like how this page turned out. I took a walk and found those lovely cherry trees in bloom, and it was so beautiful. I visited another castle. We have a lot of castles in France. I didn't have a lot to say about it because it was only for an afternoon, but I had a lot of pictures I wanted to print. So I glued them and I used my white pen to explain what was on the picture. It wasn't journaling, it was only information. For example, here we found these lovely yellow flowers growing on the castle's walls, and I found how these flowers were called. I wrote it here. Here I used the logo of the castle. I rounded the corners with my corner rounder to make it look a bit more intentional. And I glued a bit of the history pamphlet for the castle here. I really like Easter because at my old age of 32, I still love to look for Easter eggs. My mom hides Easter eggs in my apartment, and it just was such a fun experience to wake up and I had completely forgot that she was going to do this. And when I went into my bedroom and I found an Easter egg on my shelves, it was just so much fun. So I took a lot of pictures of the different places the eggs were hidden in. This was the tag of the little chocolate chicken she gave me. I'm not a fan of stickers that have little messages, but this Little Joys one with the golden heart really went well with this spread. I bought new die cuts and new pattern paper, and I was trying out these die cuts, and I had all these little circles, these little patterns left, and I made up this spread that covers both pages, and I really liked how dynamic it was. I didn't think I would be using this hip hip hooray die cuts, but I think it turned out really well. I wanted to have a little bit in my notebook about the costumers that I really love. I will link them down below. Here I continued using the scraps from the die cut, and I decided to have it go on the cover part, and I think it's just so lovely. I'm really proud of what I've accomplished in this scrapbook. It was such a fun experience to do that, and I love this project so much that I started 2 new scrapbooks. I started a new one for the month of May, and I've started a new one for 2021, and the bit of 2022 I didn't scrap. I found in my picture folders on my computer that I had a lot of pictures that I really wanted to print out. So now I'm back scrapbooking 2021, and I think I want to go back as far as I can. It's really fun to look for ephemera in my memory box, to look for things I could reuse in the scrapbook. I'm just having a lot of fun with this project, and I hope it inspired you, that you liked the video. It was really fun to film. I've enjoyed showing my scrapbook to family and friends because it's just such a great way to talk about the different memories attached to the pictures, to show the bits of creation I'm proud of. As you can see, the scrapbook has kind of doubled in size. For a €3 scrapbook, it's held up pretty well. I didn't really know how to decorate this front cover. When I started, I just added this sticker. I'm still not sure if I want to add a title or more pictures, but I can do it later. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.